She made him a cocktail, told him it was to celebrate. Then she went to bed. At 3 a.m, she called 911. She told the operator her husband was cold to the touch. The prosecutor who played that 911 call in court said something that stayed with everyone who heard it. That is not the sound of a wife becoming a widow. That is the sound of a wife becoming a black widow. Her name is Kouri Richins, and this story does not get less disturbing. It gets more. Eric Richins was 39 years old. He ran a successful stonemasonry business outside Park City, Utah. He and Kouri had been married since 2013. They had 3 sons together, aged 9, 7, and 5 at the time of his death. By every account, Eric was a devoted father. His family described him as warm, hardworking, and completely present in his children's lives. What they did not know was that Eric had been afraid for months. He had told family and friends he believed his wife was trying to harm him. After becoming seriously ill on 2 previous occasions, he had quietly begun protecting himself. He changed the beneficiary of his will away from Kouri. He consulted a divorce attorney. He was trying to find a way out. He just didn't find it fast enough. The first attempt was on Valentine's Day. Eric became seriously ill after eating a meal Kouri gave him. He broke out in hives. He struggled to breathe. He used his son's EpiPen. He took Benadryl and fell asleep for several hours. He survived. He told people what had happened. Some of them believed him. Kouri told a different story. 17 days later, Eric Richins was dead. The night of March 4th, 2022. Kouri told investigators they had been celebrating a real estate deal she had closed. She had made him a Moscow Mule cocktail. She had gone to bed. He had stayed up. And at some point in the night, he stopped breathing. The medical examiner found something in Eric's system, a lethal substance, at a concentration 5 times what would kill a person. Eric Richins had no history of illicit drug use, no prescriptions for anything like this, no reason for it to be in his body. Unless someone put it there. The investigation that followed pulled back a curtain on a life Kouri Richins had been building in secret. She was in financial collapse. Her real estate business had accumulated more than $1.8 million in debt. She had taken out a $250,000 home equity line of credit on a property Eric owned before their marriage, without his knowledge, and funneled it into her company. She had written bad checks to keep accounts solvent. She had misappropriated money from a friend's deposit to cover her own debts. And she had been having an affair, for years, with a man named Josh Grossman. Text messages shown at trial revealed her telling Grossman she wanted to leave Eric to marry Grossman one day. But there was a problem. Eric and Kouri had signed a prenuptial agreement. If she left him, she left his money. The prosecutor said it simply. She wanted to leave Eric Richins, but she did not want to leave his money.
She had taken out multiple life insurance policies on Eric without his knowledge. By the time he died, those policies totaled more than $2 million. One policy she had applied for fraudulently. Eric discovered what she had done and quietly changed the beneficiary away from her. She did not know he had done that. She killed him for money she was never going to receive. Her phone told the rest of the story. Investigators found search queries on her phone that included questions about lethal doses of certain substances, questions about how to search for luxury prisons, questions about whether poisoning would appear on a death certificate. She was not researching for a novel. She was planning. Cell phone data placed her phone near specific locations on dates close to the attempted murder and the death. and 5 days after Eric died, she sent a message to the woman who had supplied the substance. "Still have your hookup?" Her husband had been dead for 5 days. She was already asking for more.
But here is where this case becomes something else entirely. In March 2023, 1 year after Eric's death, and while she was already under investigation, Kouri Richins published a children's book titled, "Are You With Me?" The book was about a child wondering if their father was still present during special moments, birthdays, Christmas, the first day of school. She promoted it on local television. She gave interviews about grief, about healing, about how writing the book had brought peace to her and her boys. She was arrested 2 months later. The prosecutor described her television appearances as a facade to hide the crime. And when investigators looked more closely at the book itself, they found something. A ghostwriter had written it for her. She had not even written the grief book herself.
While awaiting trial in jail, she was not idle. Investigators intercepted a letter she had written from jail. It appeared to contain instructions to family members about how to testify on her behalf. The letter became known as the Walk the Dog letter. She was coaching witnesses from inside a jail cell. Prosecutors moved to restrict her contact with family. The court denied it. She had already sent the letter. The trial began in February 2026. It was scheduled to last 5 weeks. The prosecution called more than 40 witnesses over 13 days. Eric's family, the woman who supplied the substance, a forensic accountant, a digital forensics analyst, a private investigator Eric's family had hired themselves. The defense called 0 witnesses, not 1. They rested their case without presenting a single person to testify on her behalf. Their argument was that prosecutors could not prove exactly how the substance entered Eric's body, that without eyewitness testimony to the act itself, there was reasonable doubt. The jury needed 3 hours. 3 hours to reach a verdict on a case with 13 days of evidence. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the 3 boys' statements were read aloud by counselors because the boys would not read them themselves. The middle son, 11 years old at sentencing, wrote this: "You took away my dad for no reason other than greed, and you only cared about yourself and your stupid boyfriends." He described having to be a parent to his younger brother because their mother did not watch over them. All 3 boys said they would fear for their safety if she were ever released. "I don't want you out of jail because I will not feel safe if you are out." Kouri Richins stood at the podium and addressed her sons. "As much as you've been influenced into thinking that Dad was murdered, that I took your dad from you, that is completely wrong. An absolute lie." The judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He handed down the sentence on what would have been Eric's 44th birthday. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free. And then there is one final detail. The research into Kouri Richins' background uncovered something investigators noted but never fully pursued. Her mother had a romantic partner. He died in 2006 of a suspicious overdose. Nobody was ever charged. The question this case leaves is not about the evidence. The jury answered that in 3 hours. It is about the children's book. About what kind of person writes a book about grief
over a death they caused, promotes it on television, calls it healing, and what it tells us about how far someone will go to maintain an appearance when the alternative is the truth. Kouri Richins did not just end Eric's life. She turned his death into content. His sons are not props. His death is not a chapter. And the book is no longer in print. If this case stayed with you, share it with someone you trust. And if you want more cases like this one, subscribe. A new case drops every Thursday. I'll see you in the next one.